Along the sun-drenched coasts of the ancient Mediterranean, the Nerium oleander thrived, its vibrant pink and white blossoms a common sight in Roman villas and Greek courtyards. In the gardens of Pompeii, slaves pruned the evergreen shrubs each morning, their bare hands brushing against waxy leaves that secreted a milky sap. The substance clung to their fingers like tree resin. Roman matrons ordered the flowering branches cut and arranged in terracotta vases, perfuming their atriums with a honey-sweet fragrance. Children chased each other through the hedgerows, snapping twigs for mock sword fights. Goats that wandered too close to the ornamental borders would stretch their necks toward the leaves, then recoil at the bitter taste and move on to sweeter fodder. The plant spread wherever Romans built their colonies, from Hispania to Syria, following trade routes and military roads. Gardeners propagated it through cuttings, admiring how it flourished in poor soil and survived months without rain. They noticed dead insects beneath its branches, beetles with legs curled skyward, but attributed this to the Mediterranean heat rather than the cardiac glycosides pulsing through every stem, leaf and petal. And in Rome's sprawling gardens, where those vibrant oleander blooms swayed in the Mediterranean breeze, Pliny the Elder bent over his writing desk. His stylus scratched across papyrus as he catalogued the empire's flora. The plant's toxic sap had already claimed several pack animals near the Tiber stables. "It is poisonous to beasts of burden," he wrote, his fingers stained with ink. The warning joined thousands of botanical observations in his Natural History, 37 volumes that only wealthy patricians and temple libraries could afford. Merchants and soldiers who needed the knowledge most would never glimpse these words. Pliny sealed the scroll with wax and handed it to his scribe for copying. Outside his villa, oleander bushes bloomed innocently along the stone pathways. The very legionnaires who would later die from its poison marched past, admiring the flowers that lined their route to the African campaigns. The Roman military machine had pushed deep into the scorched lands of Numidia, where the Mediterranean's cultivated gardens gave way to wild scrubland. Here, among the rocky outcrops and dry wadis, oleander flourished untended, its pink blooms defying the harsh African sun. The exhausted legionnaires, their leather armour salt-stained from weeks of marching, established camp near a dried riverbed thick with flowering shrubs. As dusk painted the horizon crimson, soldiers scattered to gather fuel for their cooking fires. The centurion's whistle had signalled mealtime, and the scent of butchered goat already hung in the still air. Men snapped branches from the nearest vegetation, sturdy stems perfect for skewering meat, their white sap beading like pearls. The oleander wood crackled in the flames, releasing an acrid smoke that stung their eyes. Chunks of goat flesh sizzled over the poisonous embers, fat dripping onto wood that had evolved its toxins over millennia to repel browsers. Each drop of rendered grease carried microscopic particles of cardiac glycosides back up into the meat. The hungry soldiers tore into their rations with bronze knives, unaware that every bite delivered a dose of oleandrin directly into their bloodstreams. The goat meat had barely settled in their stomachs when Marcus, a veteran of 15 campaigns, pressed his palm against his chest. His heart hammered against his ribs, not the steady rhythm of a soldier's pulse, but wild, erratic beats that made him gasp. Around the dying embers, other legionnaires stirred uneasily, hands clutching at their throats. Gaius doubled over first, bile burning his throat as violent spasms seized his abdomen. The cardiac glycosides from the oleander branches had infiltrated every morsel of meat, transforming their evening meal into poison. Sweat beaded on bronze skin as hearts stuttered and skipped, the toxins disrupting the electrical signals that kept their organs beating in time. Within the hour, 20 men writhed on the ground, their muscles contracting involuntarily. The poison attacked systematically, first the irregular heartbeat, then the crushing nausea, finally the convulsions that left grown warriors helpless as children. Their bodies burned from within while the North African night grew cold, and the beautiful pink flowers on nearby bushes swayed innocently in the desert wind. The physician pushed through the chaos of writhing bodies, his practiced fingers searching for a pulse beneath clammy skin. Marcus Aurelius Calvus, trained in the medical arts of Pergamon, had treated arrow wounds and fever outbreaks, but these symptoms defied his understanding. The men's hearts hammered wildly, then stuttered to near stillness. He pried open a soldier's mouth, examining the swollen tongue, the foam gathering at the corners. His bronze surgical instruments lay useless in their leather case. The camp's medicine chest contained willow bark for pain, poppy tears for wounds, vinegar for cleansing, nothing that addressed this strange paralysis creeping through their limbs. Calvus mixed wine with crushed herbs, forced it between blue lips. The remedy only accelerated the convulsions. He pressed his ear to a dying man's chest, heard the heart's desperate, irregular rhythm, like a drummer losing time. Whatever poison coursed through their blood remained invisible, nameless, beyond the reach of Roman medicine. The camp physician withdrew his bloodied hands from yet another corpse, the fifth since dawn. Around the smouldering remains of last night's cookfire, surviving legionnaires traced the pattern. Every dead man had eaten from the spit, roasted over those strange white-flowered branches. The connection crystallized like frost on metal. The wood itself had somehow poisoned their meal. Murmurs rippled through the surviving cohort as soldiers pointed to the thicket where they'd gathered kindling. The remaining branches bore delicate pink blossoms, their beauty now sinister. Arbor mortifera, one veteran spat, the death tree. Word spread from tent to tent, man to man, each retelling adding darker details about the cursed shrub that killed through smoke alone. By nightfall, the camp's scribes documented the incident on wax tablets, recording symptoms and deaths for military archives. Soldiers carved warnings into nearby trees and piled stones around the oleander grove. The beauty that had lured them now repulsed them. Those fragrant flowers would forever smell of burning flesh and dying breath in the memories of every survivor. The dying legionnaire's final words echoed through Mediterranean ports for generations. Byzantine merchants whispered of the devil's laurel while haggling over silk in Constantinople's markets. Caravan drivers traced protective symbols against their water skins before passing oleander groves. The plant's reputation spread like spilled wine across parchment maps, staining trade routes with fear. Sailors carved warnings into ship masts, crude drawings of five-petaled flowers crossed with skulls. In Damascus taverns, veterans demonstrated the telltale heart flutter by tapping erratic rhythms on wooden tables. Mothers pulled children away from roadside blooms, reciting verses about beautiful flowers that stopped brave men's hearts. Each retelling added new horrors. Monastery scribes recorded fragmented accounts between illuminated prayers, a Frankish knight vomiting blood, Greek shepherds finding goats rigid beside pink petals. The warnings transformed, twisted by distance and time. Some claimed the plant screamed when burned. Others swore its smoke could kill birds mid-flight. Truth tangled with myth, but the core message persisted: never cook with oleander wood. The pattern would repeat itself centuries later, far from Roman camps and Mediterranean shores. Outside Madrid's crumbling walls, Napoleon's Grande Armée struggled through the bitter winter of 1809. Starving French dragoons, their supply lines severed by Spanish guerrillas, scavenged the barren countryside for anything that would burn. Dead olive trees, broken wagon wheels, and the thick, green branches of flowering shrubs that lined the dusty roads. 8 cavalrymen gathered around their meagre fire, threading strips of horse meat onto the smoothest branches they could find. The oleander wood released a sweet smoke as it charred, its sap bubbling and hissing in the flames. They ate ravenously, tearing at the meat with blackened fingers, the juice running down their chins. Within an hour, the first man clutched his throat, his pulse hammering visibly beneath the skin. By dawn, all 8 lay rigid in the frost-hardened dirt, their bodies contorted into impossible angles. The regiment's surgeon found them with foam dried at the corners of their mouths, their eyes bulging and bloodshot. He recorded in his field notes the mysterious seizures, the violent vomiting of blood, the way their hearts had raced themselves to exhaustion, never suspecting the innocent-looking branches still smouldering in the ashes. The survivors of Napoleon's campaign carried their warnings through Europe, but the plant's true nature remained elusive until a Berlin laboratory in 1902. Dr. Wilhelm Schmiedeberg hunched over his microscope, watching crystalline needles form on the glass slide, pure oleandrin extracted from dried leaves. His assistant's hands trembled as he documented the molecular structure. Each milligram could stop a human heart. The compound attacked cardiac muscle cells, forcing them to contract until they seized completely. Nerion, its chemical cousin, paralyzed the nervous system while the victim remained conscious. Schmiedeberg injected diluted oleandrin into laboratory rabbits. Their hearts stuttered within minutes, pupils dilated, muscles twitching in synchronized waves. The forensic implications revolutionized poisoning investigations. Detectives could now trace unexplained cardiac deaths back to a beautiful garden flower growing beside kitchen windows. The same lethal beauty that claimed Roman legionnaires and Napoleon's soldiers now blooms beside swimming pools in Phoenix, frames driveways in Los Angeles, and lines the sidewalks of suburban Houston. In 2000, a California family gathered for a weekend camping trip, their cooler packed with hot dogs and marshmallows, their trunk loaded with firewood collected from their freshly pruned backyard. The father had trimmed the overgrown oleander hedge that morning, its straight branches perfect for roasting sticks. Around the campfire, 5 children threaded their hot dogs onto the smooth wood, the sap still fresh and sticky on their fingers. Within hours, the youngest child began vomiting, her skin clammy and pale, her pulse racing at 180 beats per minute. Emergency room physicians pumped activated charcoal into 3 children's stomachs while monitoring their erratic heart rhythms on beeping monitors. The toxicology report confirmed oleandrin poisoning, the same cardiac glycoside that killed soldiers 2 centuries earlier. Today, poison control centers field over 900 oleander exposure calls annually, the plant's deadly secret still hiding behind its cheerful pink petals.